As the initial chords strike,
Yeah, come on.
the listener is urged into a sense of mystification second to none. The drums scamper along, the bass provides smooth rhythm, locking the audience into a transfixed celebration of existence. And then the vintage Jim Morrison shriek, an acknowledgement of present presence. Claims of the music being the only reason to keep the lights on, mind-bending thoughts reserved for that special place in time that could only be the 1960s. Robbie Krieger's guitar, an underrated artist of the now, accompanying Jim's affirmation of music being our only friend. Could it be the message of being? It's hard to tell. An iconic metaphor in the history of the Doors ensues. Dance on fire as it intends. Provoking in more ways than one, it questions ideals of safety and norms all at once. There is that aspect, after all, of being by a bonfire, and, inexplicably, it's difficult to move your eyes away from it. However, there's not much time to ponder such a psychedelic line, as the music, and more specifically, Krieger's guitar, plunges us into a state of serene madness. It's so fitting for the idea of music being our potential only friend, to present being the only thing we can truly possess, and being the only thing we can truly act on. For such guttural and heavy guitar, it's hard to believe that at this point, it's more difficult to remain motionless than to, at the least, sway with the music. There's been enough breaking down of oneself at this stage, and we are about to get broken down even further, nearly abandoning all sense of presumptions on the whole. As the dust settles, cancel my subscription to the resurrection is blurted out in a way that only Jim Morrison could do. A line of such weight, such rebellious attitude, words of speech not dared ever spoke by so many before, after, and during. To some, this may be what could only be described as the typical 60s trope of anti-establishment dogma. And, while it is that, it's arguably the most intense sentiment ever unleashed. Recognizing this, the next lines are, "Send my credentials to the house of detention. I've got some friends inside." It's like he's daring people to do it. And as the rest of the band plays music alongside it, they certify the rebellious idea. Yes, they'll be called crazy, but it's all worth it, and it remains timeless to this day, still making conformity at large uncomfortable. The ensuing portion feels just as emotionally charged. One can assuredly picture the studio turned spiritually ritualized in the name of being fed up with all cultural norms that prevent full human experience, as it culminates with, "We want the world and we want it now." It's hard to believe the urgency of such a protest on climate action from all those years ago, but it's certified by a prior, rather explicit description of how careless people have treated the earth. In another way, this message makes perfect sense. America had just been through the civil rights movement, and anti-Vietnam War demonstrations were regularly happening. It seems as if this primal-like screech from Morrison is a recognition of the ceiling of progress being broken through, while also serving as a way to reveal how much more can be had or done. Humans, as part of nature, belong to the earth, and yet, under capitalism, it feels nothing like this. This feeling sends the track into raptures, noises never heard in that day, and still even hard to regard as anything normal today. It's utterly perfect for such a left-field message. Somehow, Jim was able to tell a future, as the song returns to the music being our only friend. While the 60s saw a movement towards the good politically and socially, ultimately the wave crashed, as Hunter S. Thompson would put it. Here, the ending almost haunts us, as in 2023, climate change seems ever dire, and geopolitical tensions could boil over at any given moment. And yet, the call to action received here does not die. The liberation remains triumphant, and human possibility remains forever infinite. The song is, "When the Music's Over."